Lesson for today's video is going to be talking about long division. So how to use the standard algorithm of long division to divide big numbers. In the previous videos that you've watched, you prepared for long division. You talked about understanding what it is, how our steps work, what our vocabulary is. So in today's video, you're actually going to start to do the long division. So on the left-hand side of my screen, I have an anchor chart that breaks down the steps, and we've talked about the steps before. You should be familiar with them. I hope that you've listened to our long division song that I posted in the previous video. But we are just going to follow these steps, and it's really just a pattern of repeating itself over and over again. So once you get those steps down, you'll notice that the pattern repeats, and you will be off on your own to try these. So we're going to set up our problem. I want everybody to make sure you have a notebook in front of you, a piece of paper, something to write on, and something to write with. So I'm going to make sure everybody's prepared. If you need to pause the video and go get something, please go do that. But we're going to get started. So we're going to start with a 2-digit number, and we're going to start with the problem of 53 divided by 4. So 53 divided by 4. Please go ahead and write it down using just our division symbol, and then we're going to set it up using our long division bar like we did in the previous video. So whenever I am placing my numbers in the correct position, I want to first draw my bar. So I'm going to do that here. And I want to make sure that my dividend, which is 53, goes inside or underneath this bar. And my divisor, which is 4, which is what I'm going to be dividing, is going to go on the outside of the bar. And then we know that our answer, which is our quotient, is going to go up top. All right, so before we get started, very similar to what we did in the last video, we need to make sure we have our steps. So whether you have them in front of you, whether you have them written down, great, but I'm going to go ahead and put them over here to the side. So I know I need to divide, that's my first step. Multiply, that's my second step. Subtract. Bring down if we need to bring down. And then the last thing to do is either repeat these steps or we are going to have a remainder. So it just depends on the problem that we have at hand. So let's go ahead and take a look and dive into this problem. So our divisor is 4, which means I am going to be breaking up our dividend 53 into equal groups of 4, and I'm going to see how many equal groups I have. So first thing I do is I always look at the first digit in my dividend, which in this case is a 5. Now, being that 4 is smaller than 5, our divisor is smaller than the first digit in our dividend, we can divide into this number. So I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 4 go into 5 without going over? Another way to think about this is if I have 5 apples, how many groups of 4 am I able to make? So think about our facts. Let's think about our multiplication facts. I know that 4 times 1 is equal to 4. I know that 4 times 2 is equal to 8. I am trying to get as close as I can to 5 without going over. So I'm going to say I'm able to create one equal group, or I'm able to pull out one equal group of 4 from the number 5. So my 1 is going to go up top, right above that 5. So our place value is still very important here, guys. We need to make sure that our numbers that are a part of our answer, that are a part of our quotient, are going in the correct place value. So because we divided 4 into 5, that 1 is going to go directly above that 5 in the tens place. All right, now it's time to multiply. And I'm going to multiply what I just brought up to the top, which is my 1, by my divisor 4. So I know that 1 times 4 or 4 times 1 is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 4 right underneath this 5. Now I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. And before I bring down my next number, I tell my kids all the time, make sure that you check to make sure that this number that you got, this difference that you got, is smaller than your divisor. Because if you get a number, if you get a difference that is larger than the divisor, you know that you made a mistake somewhere because you would be able to create another group of 4. So we see that 1 is smaller than 4, so we're good and we're in good shape, we're good to go. Make sure you did your math correctly. Make sure you didn't say 5 minus 4 is accidentally 2 or 5 minus 4 is accidentally 0, right? We want to make sure that our basic math is correct as well. And now it's time to bring down our next number. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down this 3 because that is the next number in my dividend. So when I bring down this 3, I have created a new dividend now. So if we go backwards a little bit, I was not dividing 4 into 53, right? I was not asking myself how many times does 4 go into 53. I was asking myself just how many times does 4 go into 5. If I have 5 apples, I'm able to make one group of 4, right? With 1 left over. So that's where my 1 left over comes in. And now I need to bring down that next digit in my dividend. So now my new dividend is 13. So this number down here that I'm going to circle in my highlighted blue, this is our new dividend. So now we can go ahead and start our steps all over again, because when we are using long division, as soon as you bring down a number, you have to repeat your steps. You have to start all the way back up at the D for division and move through until you come to bring the next number down. So now I'm going to ask myself, how many times does this 4, which is my divisor that never changes, go into 13? What do I mean by that? If I have 13 apples, or if I have 13 pieces of pizza, or whatever we're using, if I have 13 of something, how many equal groups of 4 would I be able to create? And a way that we can think about this without having to draw a picture is we can think of our multiplication facts. So we already know that 4 times 1 is 4 and 4 times 2 is 8. So let's keep going until we get as close as we can to 13. I know that 4 times 3 is 12. And 4 times 4 is 16, which 16 is too much because it's bigger than 13. So 4 can go into 13 3 times. If I had 13 pieces of pizza, I would be able to create equal groups, and I would only be able to create 3 equal groups of 4. So I'm going to put my 3 up top. And now I'm going to multiply because I can't just stop. I have to repeat my steps. I divided, now I need to multiply. I'm going to multiply exactly what I just did in my head, which is 3 times 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. Bring this 12 down here. And now I'm going to subtract 13 minus 12 is 1. And now it's time for me to bring down the next number. But if you take a look at your original dividend, there's no other numbers there. We already divided into the 5 and we already divided into the 3. So we're actually done. So instead of bringing down and repeating, there's nothing left to bring down. So this remainder, or our leftover amount, is what we're going to check out. So we have a 1 down here. 1 is our leftover amount. It's what was remaining after we created our equal groups, and we call this our remainder. So all we do and how we represent the remainder is we are just going to write right next to our answer, right next to our quotient, R, standing for remainder, 1. So this means if I had 53 pieces of pizza, I would be able to create 13 groups of 4, and I would have 1 piece of pizza left over. 13 remainder 1 is my answer. We have 13 as our quotient. Our quotient tells us how many equal groups we were able to make, and our remainder tells us how much is left over. All right. Awesome. So this first video really is just meant to show you the steps. It's really just meant to break it down for you. Check out the anchor chart. They give you another example in that long division. They use a 3-digit number. And in the next video, I am going to do a 3-digit number with you, and we're going to do some practice together. So make sure to check that out.